Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. And I've got something very important on the show today as well. Our very first segment is going to focus on the importance of mental well-being, mental health when it comes to sports as well. And I think it's very important. For decades now we've discussed the subject of having a mental health professional with teams as well, especially when you talk about the Pakistan cricket team. It has always been debated that it is the need of the hour as well, and especially when you talk about the fact that a lot of players, when they go into injury as well, when they're undergoing rehab, it's not just the physical fitness that they need to attain as well, but they need to be mentally fit as well, because a lot of things are going in your mind when you're sidelined from the premier sports that you're used to playing. So we'll be discussing all about this on the show in detail. We're very honored to be joined by a consultant psychiatrist, a physiotherapist as well, and also somebody who happens to be a mental health professional, Dr. Usama Bin Zubair. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Sahab. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam. I'm fine, not too bad.
Thank you very much for joining the show. First of all, like I said, that this subject of because let's be honest, in our part of the world, mental health or mental well-being is treated as a social taboo. So first of all, when we link this with sports, how important does it become?
So we say sometimes even sports is a taboo. I receive a lot of kids or adolescents who are in their teens and they want to become sportsmen, and their parents say, no, you have to become doctor, you have to become engineer. So even with sports there is some stigma associated. And when I was listening to you, you use a lot of phrases like, there are pack-to-pack matches, and then that is a sports-loving nation, and then Pakistani team is sent to military academy. So I was just connecting all this. So when you say that there are 11 chosen ones from 25 crores, so what does that mean? Those chosen ones would be special ones, and their problems would also be special ones. And then they have back-to-back matches, the national, international cricket, then these leagues, and then county cricket. So there is no time to rest. The brain gets short-circuit. There's a lot of burden on the brain. So that's why we say that mental health is an integral part of overall health, and which we least focus. We have a physiotherapist, and we have a trainer, we have a doctor, we have a gym expert. But do we have a mental health professional linked to those 11 people who are constantly under pressure, So this is an eye-opener.
Well, you mentioned a very imperative point right now. It's the packed schedules now, back to back, especially if we focus with a cricket-oriented nation. When you talk about cricket, it dominates as a sport in our part of the world. Back-to-back matches, players are playing in different leagues, and they've got to come back for international duty as well. There's a lot of traveling involved in between all of this. And then, of course, because the world is a smart world now, people have a track of your data analytics of your performance as well, stats-wise, as we say. So, they're always striving to be the very best. At this moment, how important is it that for each team, we've seen that model in franchise cricket, but, particularly as a regular subject, we need to have a mental health professional with the teams who are traveling on regular basis.
Yeah, so when they're constantly exposed to stress and their social support, is lessened, they have no families with them, like sometimes family doesn't travel.
Absolutely.
Then, sometimes they are with their friends, but, there's a competitive environment. You cannot say that your team colleague is your friend because he's your competitor. You have to be in that competitive world to make for that top 11. So there's no social support, we say. So there should be professional support. When there's, whole year you have matches and there's no rest and there's no support, then there comes the need of the mental health professional. Then there's stress. There's one form of stress which we call eustress, which is good stress, which keeps you going. But when there's constant stress, that eustress converts to distress. Now your bad chemicals in the body would be releasing. You would be low in your mood, you would become anxious, you would not be having good relations with people around you. Your focus on your game would be reduced. So that is the time where a mental health professional comes in. It tells you how to cope with your stress, how to divide things into various chambers, which is important, which is urgent, which is to be done now, which could be done after a year, and when to take a break. You cannot play each and every league. You cannot play each and every match. There would be time when your physical, health would not be that much as that was in 18 years.
It will start deteriorating.
Yeah, so there should be a trained person who should not be in competition with the team. If a team member tells you, if the captain of the team tells you, if chief selector tells you, so that would have different impact.
Absolutely.
But if a person who is not emotionally connected with you, who has nothing to do with your place in the team, if he tells you, so then there is a time when there is reversible damage. You can mend your ways. So there is a need for a mental health professional to be with team all the time.
Absolutely. Dr. Sama, my final question to you would be, to link it with injuries as well now. There have been a lot of players who've went towards an injury process. They've tried the rehabilitation as well. Most of them have gotten back to their normal ways and have gone towards physical fitness, have attained what they wanted to achieve as well. But unfortunately, in that process, like you mentioned, it's a competitive environment. Sometimes they're sidelined from the team, and it's probably in the back of their mind that maybe they won't be now making a comeback to the team or to the competitive sports they're used to. So at that moment of when they're undergoing probably a physiotherapy session or a extensive rehab process, what's the process there that we need to worry about as far as their mental health is concerned?
So you can see that tear ligament on MRI, you can see that broken bone on X-ray, but you cannot see the psychic wounds. You cannot see that pressure affecting his brain when he's out of the team. So our nation is black and white. You have to win or you have to lose. Either you are in team, either you are out of the team. And then we see in the recent past, Philip Hughes.
Yes.
He died because of that injury.
Absolutely.
Then the goalkeeper of the hockey team, he had cancer after that injury. And then if we go back, 96 World Cup, Wasim Akram has, shoulder injury, Pakistan lost the semi-finals. So we see that how deep the injuries have an impact on individual and on the team.
And the particular case of Philip Hughes that you mentioned, the bowler that was involved, it took quite some time for him to return to competitive cricket as well.
Like, the people around, those who were standing on the field, the batsmen who were standing on non-strikers' end, that incident changed the whole history of cricket. The number of bouncers allowed per over, then there was a concussion protocol that was introduced.
Absolutely.
The helmets, they were modified. So you see, when you are doing a lot of things which you could see, so which you could not see, the impact of that, debriefings, the impact of trauma, people may have nightmares after that, but nobody could tell. If somebody would tell, oh, I can see that injury in my dreams, or I feel anxious when I go to the team, no, they would kick me out of the team. They would consider me a weak person. So we have to break this stigma. The physical injury, you can see that has an impact, but when you are recovering from that physical injury, you are sidelined. You're stigmatized. We are a very judgmental nation. So these are trash players. They always remain unfit. Fast bowlers do that.
But Dr. It's very important because, like you mentioned, we're a judgmental nation. I was going to come to the point finally that there are a lot of young people involved in sports now. Their parents have aspirations. Their coaches, that whichever setup they're coming from. There is sometimes I feel that unnecessary burden is put on little shoulders, and that is something that we need to understand as a nation.
I don't know, it's nice to quote here or not. I usually quote an example of Muhammad Amir, how young he was when he came here. He was unable to sustain that pressure.
Absolutely.
So one tip, if some player is watching this, set boundaries. We are such an emotional nation. We put our emotional trauma on players. They have lost the match, we have broken our LCD. We are burning their pictures on the roads. So our own emotional traumas, our own emotional energy is transferred onto the players. So player needs to learn that. There is a lot of things between winning and losing. And you cannot not always win. So that emotional charging, players need to learn, and that is where a mental health professional comes. He tells you where to set boundary, where to not take that emotional turmoil of whole nation on your young shoulders for just a cricket match. Absolutely. And ruin your mental health and whole of the scenario and whole of the match.
Absolutely. But I think that is very aptly put, that you really need to ease the burden, and support is something that is needed. But Dr. Usama, thank you very much for joining us. It was indeed a pleasure having you on the show, and thank you for your time.